Hello everyone, how are you all? Today we are going to discuss one of the most important topic regarding CSE Pre 2024, and that is ocean currents. As you all know, previous year also and before that, UPSC has asked questions from ocean currents. Either their factors or simply the name of the ocean currents and their property or their effect on fishing and shipping industries. So today we will discuss about the factors which are responsible for the movement of ocean currents. Before that, if we talk that what are ocean currents? So first, if we are going to break the terms ocean and currents. So if we talk the currents means a free flowing water body like the river current, means a water body which is flowing in the influence of gravity from the mountains, having a perfect width, depth and length and with speed. Like this only, according to laymen, what we know that oceans are still, but technically oceans are not still, but a perfect column of ocean moves from lower latitudes to higher latitudes or from higher to lower, or simply we can say that a perfect column of ocean has motions. So about defining the ocean currents, we can define them as a perfect flow of ocean water which are unidirectional in manner, having a perfect width, depth, length and speed, which helps in regulating the temperature on earth from warmer latitudes to colder latitudes and from colder to warmer. Now this means they are a moving object. Now the question comes, as geography is a science, that what are the responsible factors which are forcing the ocean water to move in one direction? And the most important thing, the waters in the oceans are not moving from today or few years, but they are moving since million and billion of years, means from the day the oceans has came on existence. So the most important thing, the factors, like the factors responsible for the movement of wind, we know the factors responsible for onset of monsoon in India, or the factors responsible for formation of clouds or condensation processes, all these things. So like that only, the factors which are responsible, factors responsible for movement of ocean currents or simply we can say for the generation of ocean currents. So those are temperature, salinity, shape of coastline, Coriolis force and wind direction, which is also considered as prevailing winds or the movement of winds. These are the 5 possible factors which are considered by the oceanographers for the generation of ocean currents. Apart from these 5 factors, few factors are also considered, like you can see ocean bottom relief also. Some of the scholars think that the features which are present in the ocean bottom, they also helps in movement. Simply we can say they helps in bifurcation or they helps in their turning path, all these things. But broadly, the factors which are considered are 5 factors: the temperature, salinity, shape of coastline, Coriolis force and wind direction, or simply we can say the prevailing winds. So we are going to discuss them one by one. Like first we are going to discuss the temperature and salinity. So if we talk about the temperature and salinity, we know latitudinally the temperature is governed on earth. Like the whole earth is divided into 5 temperature belts, 1 torrid, 2 temperate and 2 frigid. 30° north to 30° south has torrid zone or hot zone, 30 to 60 temperate and 60 to 90 frigid. So simply the temperature, due to high temperature, the water has got the tendency, or you can say any particle or any object has the tendency to expand. And when the water will expand, technically what will happen, the sea level will rise because it will move up. On the other hand, the water which have less temperature will be denser, or you can say heavier, and it will move down. So there will be a slope gradient. Along with the temperature, the salinity is also governed, or we can say that temperature governs the salinity. In temperature, the warmer water will move from the lower latitudes, or simply we can say from 0° towards higher latitude, means towards the colder latitudes. On the other hand, when the slope gradient will be created, the colder water will move from polar areas towards the, you can say, equatorial areas or the tropics, means they are going to regulate the temperature. Temperature is going to govern the salinity. As we know that more the temperature, more the salinity, less the temperature, less the salinity, and the salinity means the density of water, you can say the amount of impurities. The water will be more denser if the salinity will be more there, and if the salinity will be less, it will be less denser. And this will create the osmosis and reverse osmosis process, means higher concentration towards lower concentration and from lower concentration towards higher concentration. And if we see the salinity part of the, or you can say the salinity distribution of the ocean water, then what we see, 10° south to 10° north, then after 30-35° north, 30-35° south, then towards pole we can say north and south. So the question comes simply in exams also, that which part or which latitudes will have the more salinity and which latitudes will have the less salinity, or what will be the salinity ratio when we are moving from equator towards pole, either north or south. So many of you might be thinking that as the equator is having the more temperature, so it will have more salinity, but you are wrong. Technically, the maximum salinity is between 10° north to 30-35° north. Then after, medium salinity between 10° north to 10° south, and then after, the salinity goes on decreasing towards the polar areas as the water becomes colder. Now the question in your mind, sir, equator is having more temperature than tropics and more evaporation than tropics, then why the equator is having less salinity than tropics? So the salinity is also governed by adding and losing of fresh water, and as we know that equatorial zone is characterized by high temperature, but it is also characterized by thunderstorms and rain during evening. This means the evaporation which is taking place during the daytime is going to be added again in the equatorial water by the evening. But the tropical zone, or you can say the latitudes or the area which are located between 10° north to 10° south, they are having only evaporation but no precipitation. This means that there is no addition of fresh water further. That's why the area between 10 to 30 north and south will have more salinity in comparison to the equatorial part. So the maximum will be here, medium, and then after it will decrease towards the polar areas. Now the salinity is going to again determine the movement of water from higher concentration to lower concentration. But over these two factors, temperature and salinity, the another factor is going to overrule, and that is the shape of coastline. Now the question comes, how the shape of coastline is going to govern the movement of ocean water. So simply, according to layman, you can understand, if we are going to just put water in the drain, the water is going to take the path of the drain only. Means as the direction of drain will be there, in that direction only the water is going to move, and this will happen over in the oceans also. Like, let me give you the example of two ocean currents, or simply two oceans, that is Pacific and Atlantic. How? South America, and North America. This we know. This side Atlantic Ocean and this side Pacific Ocean. So if you remember few ocean currents like the North Equatorial Current and South Equatorial Current in, you can say, Atlantic Ocean, when the North Equatorial Current moves in and South Equatorial Current move in these two directions, what happened? They hit the coast of Brazil and French Guiana, and the North Equatorial Current moves along the coast of French Guiana, or you can say along the coast of Cayenne, which is named as Cayenne Current. And further, when it enters in Gulf of Mexico near Florida, it is considered as Florida Current, and then after it used to move out as Gulf Stream. On the other hand, the South Equatorial Current is going to hit the eastern coast, or you can say the coast of Brazil, and it moves down as the Brazilian Current. And we know that South Equatorial Current is in South Pacific, North Equatorial Current is in North Pacific. So they are present over there, and their tendency is to move or circumnavigate the earth. But their direction is changing as because the continental masses are coming in between. And we know that the continental blocks or the continental crust and the oceanic crust both are present over magma, and both are balanced due to isostatic adjustment. So simply their movement direction is going to be determined again, or the shape of coastline is going to determine their movement either towards north along the coastline or towards south. Like this only, the west wind drift, if we talk, which is flowing which is moving in the influence of westerlies in southern hemisphere, or you can say in southern ocean, when this west wind drift comes and hit the southern part of South America, they bifurcates in two sections, one as Falkland Current and one moves like this as Humboldt or Peru Current. If you remember, which is one of the most important part in El Nino, coming of El Nino or La Nina. We will discuss the El Nino phenomena and La Nina phenomena, but in the coming topics and coming discussion. So shape of coastline is also going to govern. Now moving on to after coastline, the Coriolis force and the prevailing winds. We know that this belt is the belt of westerlies. Now the Florida current which is coming out from Gulf of Mexico, they get influenced by westerlies and they are moved to the northern coast of Europe as North Atlantic drift. On the other hand, in Southern Ocean, the west wind drift. Always mind the ocean currents which will be named after drift or as drift, they are influenced by wind or westerlies, like North Atlantic drift or west wind drift or North Pacific drift means in the influence of westerlies, as because, or simply we can say, the prevailing winds. And we know that prevailing winds are also known as permanent winds, planetary winds. So the winds which are moving throughout the year in one direction. So as the westerlies are moving throughout the year, they will drag the ocean water in their direction only. So prevailing winds are also there. And the fifth force, which is considered as Coriolis force. And what we know about the Coriolis force? That any freely moving object will be deflected from its original path towards right in northern hemisphere and towards left in southern hemisphere as the earth is rotating. Now, if we talk about the ocean currents, independently, they are also a freely moving object. Why? Because they are having a perfect width, perfect depth. Means the whole ocean water is not moving till the surface of the ocean, but rather they are moving to some depth only. So they have become a freely moving object. Now due to this property, when they will reach in the open ocean, the Coriolis effect will be applied and they will turn to their right in this manner. And if you remember, they will form the Ekman cycle or Ekman spiral, means moving towards right, and due to this only from the western coast of Europe, one current used to come down as Canary current. So in this way, the Coriolis force is also going to be applied on ocean currents. So briefly, if we say how many factors are there: temperature, salinity, shape of coastline, prevailing wind directions, and the Coriolis force. These are the 5 important factors which are considered to be the most prominent one in, you can say, generation of ocean currents or movement of ocean currents. Possible factors minded. But these are the only, we can't say definitely, or you can say confirm. There might be some also. But as our knowledge about the oceans is very less, so we can figure only these 5 possible factors. Now, on the basis of these 5 possible factors, the currents of different oceans are named differently and their effect over the shipping industry and the fishing industry is also different. Somewhere they are very fruitful, somewhere they are very harsh, or you can say they make harsh condition bad for shipping industry, and somewhere they make it good for shipping industry. And the most important thing, the fishing industry also, how they are important in regard to them and the important ocean currents of different oceans. We are going to discuss them in the coming lecture or the next video. So stay tuned with our geography special lectures for CSE Pre 2024. We will meet again. Till then, thank you. Have a nice day.